today, Louise Crockart, my friend and colleague. I'm really pleased to welcome you today to have a little chat about the work that we do together.
Hello.
Hello, mate. So before I let you talk over the top of me, I'm going to hold on to this bit with the camera and the mic. You are an Arvigo Therapist, a teacher, an aromatherapist, which led you in a bit of a sideways move to producing a range of products for hairy people.
Yeah, I'm a master blender with Captain Fawcett
Yes.
for the hirsute gentleman and for gentlemen's shaving requisites.
Yes, and even slightly hirsute women enjoy the products as well, I can tell.
Absolutely. Getting more hirsute as the years go on.
Getting more hirsute as the years go on, but that's not what we're going to focus on today. In a previous life, you were a graphic designer, which, as far as I'm concerned, makes you one of my sheroes. As you know, I just love the fact that you can take all our madness and turn it into easy to understand infographics, and you do have a husband who helps you with that as well. And
it's very helpful.
that man, he knows more about uteruses than he ever imagined he would.
He's a very, very educated person on all things pelvis.
On all things pelvis. So, yeah, you're a graphic designer, which obviously affects the way you work. And indeed, what I'd like to talk to you about today is the Uterus Suit.
Yeah.
Tell me something about the Uterus Suit and why did you make it and how does it help us learn?
So I'm dyslexic, so I can't learn through reading. It just doesn't wire in my brain that way. So I have to feel, experience, move with a concept. And when I was being taught and going through the training process of becoming a therapist, Rosita, I was blessed to be taught by Rosita herself, and she was very much of the same philosophy that you needed to embody an idea. And so she was using scarves and blankets to illustrate how the uterus moves and how its associated relationships are with the bladder and the rectum and all of the other viscera that live in the pelvis.
I remember that she had all scarves tied to your wrist and those were the ligaments. And
that's right, yeah. And then she put a sheet over your face and it was just, wow, I get it. And it was a beautiful aha moment. So when I then decided to become a advanced teacher, or a teacher to begin with, you go through a training process. It's a fantastic training program, I have to say. But as part of your final project is you need to present a topic, and my topic was the signs and symptoms of a displaced uterus. So instantly I was thinking about what Rosita had taught me and how she had taught it. And as you said, being the graphic designer, the essence of graphic design is how can you boil the essence of what you are talking about in a very simple and easy to understand way. So I came up with a uterus costume.
Oh, and you've got her with you, of course you have.
Literally, here's one I've made earlier. So this is a costume. You can't quite see it here, but basically it's like a dress. It has Velcro in the back of it.
Size fits all. We've had large men in there and tiny women.
We have. And effectively, I get people to wear this uterus suit and then hold the other students in the room will hold all these various ribbons which are connected to various parts of the uterus, and this is explaining how and why the fallopian tubes and the ovaries and how when she moves, we call her she in some of these classes where the uterus moves, how it can affect its attachments to the bowel or
so each one of those ribbons is a ligament.
Yes, and I have recently upgraded my sewing machine and it now actually embroiders
suspensory ovarian ligament. Now you've got there one of my favorite ligaments, because
the suspensory ovarian ligament, it literally does what it says. It suspends the ovaries. So
and let's use this as an educational moment.
Go on then.
Let me have a go. Not only does that hold the ovary, but one of the things that I was amazed to find out is it carries the ovarian artery, and that ovarian artery actually arises around about L3-4.
And this is why it's so long, because I get people to go all the way up here. So from here, all the way up. Carry on.
Oh, so, and that's the blood flow that goes straight into the ovary, and it comes off the main aorta and is actually affected by the diaphragm as well. So tension in the diaphragm really affects blood flow down that suspensory ligament, which plugs directly into the ovary. So not making this a complete thing about what the ligaments do, I would just like to say in public now, I'd like to return my uterus suit and have the labels embroidered on it.
Embroidered. Oh, anytime. This one actually is ovulating. One of them will always ovulate. So there's a little.
Oh, you can just see that little pearl.
Eggs coming out.
So you've made this suit, and it's a really great way. Someone puts it on and they get to be the uterus. You get someone to stand behind, they're the bowel, someone else is in front is the bladder, and different people hold the ligaments and show how the uterus moving can affect all the organs of the pelvis.
Absolutely. I've had it explained to me. So one of my students said to me, this is just like uterine yoga. And it was such a beautiful way. And I do actually repeat that now, because the uterus, I mean, when I was taught my anatomy and physiology, you see all of the illustrations with the uterus and the ovaries and the eggs, and she's like this angel. And so this is why this suit sort of looks reminiscent of what the illustrations in all the dissection books look like, but in fact she doesn't do that at all. She sits more like this, so the ovaries and the fallopian tubes are behind. And that was fundamental for me to really understand why, when a uterus can either be anterior or retroverted back in here, or to one side or to the other, you can see what all of the ovaries and the fallopian tubes are being affected, and how that can possibly affect the health of the uterus. And when people physically embody sitting in a uterus suit, I always, if I've got a man in a class, I always encourage the man to come and dress in the uterus suit, because it's a great way of getting them to fully understand what that is, the experience of it. You can really see how restrictions or creases can happen with any of the fascia or the connecting tissues. And likewise, when cervixes are very difficult to find in smears, or
that's the one for me that I get to see so many people in the class go, okay, I understand.
And it wasn't until I really embodied it when I was in this suit. It's because if I'm tilted this way, and the top part of the suit is the fundus, and my feet become the cervix, then of course if I'm this way, my cervix is going to be pointing to one way. If I'm coming forward, my cervix is going to be to the back part of the vagina. Or likewise, if I'm coming backwards, my cervix is going to be probably tucked nicely underneath the pubic bone.
And you're also, if you're backwards, you're going to be sitting right on top of that rectum. And then that's why maybe some women suffer more with constipation or with hemorrhoids or all of those things. So the Ute Suit is this amazing teaching tool that really helps us understand. And I've worked with it with teenagers, with older women. You've taken it to India to work with a group of women who didn't even speak the same language as you, and yet they got this incredible.
It was beautiful to watch, absolutely. And this is why the work, when dressed as a uterus, it transcends language. It transcends words, really. You need to embody it. So it really is so good. And it also begins a conversation, because people can go, oh, well, so do you think because ... and you go, okay, well, let's put the uterus in this position, and then what do you think? So,
and the crazy thing is that, you know, here we all are adult women, and what you're seeing, women who are hearing this information for the first time. And today we are talking about uteruses, and another day we'll talk about how this work can affect men. I'll get Mandy Porter in, who's one of our colleagues and mother of 3 sons, so she really flies that flag. But today, as I said, we're focusing on the Uterus Suit. So how many do you think you've made? How many are out there in the world?
I reckon I'm the top end of 40, in the 40s, I reckon. So they've flown far and wide. I know that Arvigo practitioners are using them as training tools in the Far East, Singapore,
That's Lisa.
Hong Kong. Lisa Lewin in that area. We've got some down in Australia. We've got lots in America, lots dotted all the way around Europe. I've gone to Copenhagen with one. I think you went to Finland as well. So
yep, Sweden, Italy, Israel, big in Israel. She's made some big starring moments over there. Yeah, she really has travelled around the world, that Uterus Suit. And so with, as in resulting, it's literally thousands and thousands. If you've got 50 Uterus Suits out there, each one will have seen quite a lot of action by now. So that's thousands of people are learning with that tool. And that's that's why I love this work, because it's so simple and it's so fun to learn. And so education is actually possibly one of the biggest parts of the work that we do.
Hands down, I totally agree. And this is why I was a therapist for 10 years before I became an Arvigo therapist. And what I really loved about this work is that the first treatment that you come for, you are educated. It's quite a long process, because
it's 2 hours, two and a half hours, isn't it?
Yeah, really, can be up to 2.5 hours. And there are so many, you see these faces of, why haven't I known this before? And so you then teach them some really great self-care techniques, and none of us are rocket science. Well, there's one, we do have one therapist
Donna
who
is
actually is a rocket scientist. Apart from that, we teach by talking, not basic levels, but it is sort of basic levels. We really do teach. We fundamentally know what's happening, but the education aspect of it, talking in a way that your clients can understand.
And Rosita Arvigo, she developed the self-care massage. That was her own addition to the work or many additions, but that was one of her additions to the work that she was taught by Donna, because that for me means that people can come from literally all over the world and all over the country. They don't need to see us endlessly, because if we teach them the self-care massage, then that's it. They can go away. So they're not indebted to us for hours and hours of treatment.
We're teaching a life tool.
So if someone wanted to become a therapist, this is a worldwide thing, as we said. What do you need to be if I wanted to become a therapist? What do I need to have already under my belt, and how do I go about it?
Okay, so I would always say, as a rule of thumb, go to arvigotherapy.com. That's the master website, and from there most of your answers, if not all of them, will get answered. It will tell you how to find a practitioner if you are just wanting to receive a treatment yourself, and it will also tell you all about the classes which are coming up. So for lay people who are wanting just to learn about this work for a specific issue for their own use, there's loads of one-day classes, one-day workshops which you can attend. And also there's a 2.5-day self-care workshop, which is really deep diving into the history of what Arvigo is all about, where it's come from, where it's going, and then how can you work with this in your own life. That workshop's also open to therapists as well. It's one of the foundation classes which you can do so that you understand and embody the work, and then you can go on to the next level and become a professional therapist, which is a week's long training. But there's also two 4-day classes which you can attend, and effectively the first class that you could go to would be the anterior, and that's a mixture of learning how to work with this on yourself, embodying it, and then the rest of the time you learn how to then offer it to your clients. And so at the end of the 4 days, you're qualified to apply the anterior work, so the front part of the work around the abdomen, to your clients, and just begin to really embody that and use all of the supportive modalities that are actually part of the therapy too. and that's why I like it. It's called a therapy and not just a massage,
Mm.
because we know so many different ways of supporting the abdomen, and it is all of the abdomen. So as you said, it's the diaphragm, it's the uterus, it's the bladder, it's the bowel,
digestion, it's men, it's women, it's children, it's menopausal women,
anyone with an abdomen,
pregnant,
effectively. So it's a therapy. So there are many different strings to our bows, and the massage aspect is one of those strings. So there's castor oil and lots of other different supportive healing techniques that you learn too.
You've mentioned that you can be a lay person and either do 1-day classes or the 2.5-day class. You have a look at the website. If there is no one in your area or a class that you can't get to, it's always worth dropping the Institute an email, because they will try and send someone out to you. We do travel. And if you're wanting to become a therapist, you can either do the week-long training where you get it all in one go, or you do the 2 4-day classes. One is the anterior and one is the posterior. Do that 4-day anterior class, you walk straight out and you're ready to start treating people and teaching them self-care. There is no kind of having to do endless case studies. We want people out there doing it. And one of the things that I love about this work is, and Rosita always says, it has to work in heaven as on earth. For me as a therapist, I went from having to really work hard to stand out in the crowd and to find clients, to quite literally not having enough time to see all the clients that are looking for this work. And so financially, it is an investment that has paid off beyond what I ever hoped, more than any of my other investments. And so
I think don't we say in our classes that it's approximately 20-25 treatments, then you've paid off your professional training.
It's true. So you know, I love working with you. We get to teach and get to go all around the world. You are the woman that just has, and I was saying it earlier on, that if you didn't do this for a job, you should be a travel agent, because you are so good at that. I've been sacked from doing it only because.
Don't ever ask Hilary Lewin to plan where you're staying, because you might end up in a car park or
very
in
nice view of the car park.
in a hut with no windows.
It had windows, there was just no glass in the windows. You know, don't exaggerate. And the bed was swinging from the roof with a couple of ropes. But anyhow, if you weren't doing this, you could be a travel agent, because you're so good at planning and organising. And more than anything else, it's fun working with you. And you know, just
likewise. The thing that Arvigo does has done for me is that I found my family. So wherever you are in the world, if you are an Arvigo practitioner, the community in that local area that you find yourself is so open, and it's free with the information too. We've got such a vibrant aftercare package too, with the social networking. It's not just a case of you come, you get trained, and that's it, you're out. You really mean a lot. So I know that for my students and yours, we do really take an active interest.
So one last question, and before we go, I've said lots of nice things about you. I could say more. In a nutshell, what's your favourite thing about me?
What do I like about Hilary Lewin?
I just want these to be the last words that people hear. Your favourite thing about me?
Hilary Lewin to me means an open heart. And I mean that. I suppose everyone's unique, but you really were unique in my world, because I hadn't ever met anybody who was quite so open-hearted with your information, with your support. You've been a fantastic mentor to me as I have grown into this work and become an advanced teacher. And your generous spirit. So generosity and open-heartedness. That's what I like about you.
Thank you very much. So signing off as one generous, open-hearted person to another person, Louise and I,
dyslexic type graphic designer.
We really do fill in each other's blanks. She keeps me focused and makes me do what I'm supposed to do. And I tell you what though, she mixes a mean G&T amongst her other super skills. So thank you very much, Louise Crockart.
Thank you.
If people want to know more about you specifically, Louise Crockart, and I will endeavour to put your email, not your email, your website.
My website.
So arvigotherapy.com is where that's the mothership. You can Google Hilary Lewin, Louise Crockart, and there will be more of these videos coming. Yeah, stay tuned.
Watch this space.
Okay, thank you very much, Louise, and I shall see you again. Bye bye.
Bye bye.